do it. I forgot to undo my microphone.
Oh, I'm gonna yawn.
Actually, let me test it if it does. If we put it right here. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing. Why don't you say something? Say hi.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Chris Jun, and we're gonna see how that goes. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to. We are now in week 3, so we're gonna talk a little bit about week 2 discussion board.
Mm-hmm.
Chris is here with us, and was obviously thoroughly involved in the discussions and giving feedback to you guys. So far, so good. We're pretty happy, right, with what we saw with this week. There was some confusion though, I think, and so that's why we always like to do these little videos at the end of the week and just kind of dialogue a bit about where we were hoping things would go. As a reminder, these discussion boards, we're not looking for the right answer that we're going to mark you as a failure if you miss it. The whole point is that we're taking something of the essence of what we're studying that week and giving you something to chew on, to wrestle, to dialogue with each other about, and to do just that, to discuss something, not to regurgitate information per se. Yeah. So let me just briefly go over what it was again, as many of you are juggling classes and may need to be reminded of what you spent so many hours doing over the weekend. So this is what the discussion was. The readings this week may have raised for the first time in students' minds, I'm reading over here, questions about the historicity of the genealogical literature. In the Walton reading, he says that a nuanced understanding of the historiography value of a genealogy recognizes that the reliability of a genealogy may relate more to the accuracy of its description of present realities than whether it offers a precise or ancestral record of ancestral history. You'll have to excuse the deep baritone in the background. I just silenced the lion, so you should have no more background noise while we're talking. So that's from the Walton reading. Now, what you were to do was view the illustration on genealogy. That is this handout right here. Yes, which we corrected in midweek. We had a highlight. There was a little. Whoops. So good on you for. Do you remember who caught it? I posted who it was. Josh, maybe. Paul?
Yeah,
Josh, I think, did a good job catching that. Thank you, Josh. And so, viewing that handout, so now in response to the problem posed in the handout, produce a thoughtful response, 250 words, to the post in the Blackboard discussion. Wrestle with the text as much as you can. Students should feel free to consult outside resources and propose creative solutions. Now, Chris, what did you see was typically the scenario of what students brought up, and how would you like to clarify what we were looking for this week?
Yeah, I noticed that students fell into maybe 3 main camps, maybe 2. We'll see how many I get to. But one was people that sort of understood the problem, and I'll explain that more later. So you did it correctly. You'd see that in your feedback. You'd see that in your grade.
Yeah.
Others, I think, sort of misunderstood the problem in the illustration, and
That's okay. That's why we do these.
Yeah.
Clarify.
Yeah, and so I think some of you did pull out your calculator and somehow made it work. I have no idea how you made it work, but you did. And that was a little off track. That's okay.
Yeah. We will correct you now. No.
Yeah, now we'll correct. And then some of you, I think, responded to the importance of genealogy, which was a little off track too.
Yeah.
But so this, maybe we'll reiterate how much attention to pay to the instructions and sort of where we're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why don't I pull up that little handy dandy worksheet there?
Yeah.
And so the main question we're getting at is, how can these 4 generations span 430 years? How could that possibly be, Chris?
The thing is, they can't. And if some of you looked in your footnotes, maybe in the ESV, I think they have a note that points you elsewhere to explain this puzzle. That's a study for another time. But the fact is that there are more generations than 4 covering this 430-year period.
Yes, that'd be a big generation.
Yeah, that'd be an old dude somewhere.
And there are some old dudes in Scripture.
There are, yeah. I don't
Well,
know.
even some of these guys live hundreds of years, but
yeah, I wish I was them.
it's true. Yeah. So the main idea we were looking for you to get is that it's not 4 generations.
It's not 4 generations.
This wasn't supposed to be some. What was an ideal way that someone would explain that?
In a sense, the real challenge here is that we're taught to read Scripture literally, and that's a great thing, and we want to.
Good.
But we also, under that, want to read Scripture along with its genre, and that's so important because if you read Scripture against the genre or in a different genre, you'll get it wrong. You'll get the wrong conclusion.
Good.
We'll see that more in poetry. We'll see that more in prophecy. That sometimes it's not quite literal.
Good.
And genealogy in the ancient Near East, in biblical literature, is not linear. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. They might go 1, 5, 9. They might hit the big guys. And yeah, that's kind of the point. Is that it's not literal, and we don't have to struggle with that. We don't have to be upset.
And what's the difference between it not being literal, as you say, and it being make-believe?
Okay. The author's intent was not to give us a construction of every generation. Their intent was to do something very different than give straight history. So they were writing very true things that we have in Scripture that we should interpret according to their intention, literally. But we don't want to read through, the Psalms, the prophecy sometimes and say, this is completely literal. This is something we need to take completely seriously because we need to interpret Scripture within its context and in light of other Scripture.
Exactly. So just because someone says, "Oh, that's not literal," that doesn't mean that we don't take it seriously. It doesn't mean that it's some sort of make-believe, made-up, purely theoretical, if it feels good thing. No, it means that you're simply taking it within its context and along the lines of what Chris just explained, which he did a wonderful job doing, by the way. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Anything else you want to add about the discussion as we close, or that's pretty much it?
Well, if you guys have any questions about this was not intended to make you say, "Hey, Scripture's not inerrant," or anything like that.
Of course not.
So make sure to express those questions. This is a place of learning, not of doubt.
Yes, absolutely. So we're trying to kind of confront some of these academic arguments and notions and things that come up in areas of higher biblical learning, giving you guys some tastes of it, and allowing you guys to process it a bit, and to, and feel free to ask us questions and continue to dialogue. We love the questions and the emails, so feel free, throw them at us. We like it.
Yeah.
All right, that's a wrap for the discussion on this week. Enjoy the one ahead.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Bye.